Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my July wrap up. This is the first wrap up I've done in a really long time, so I'm not really sure how I want to go about this. I do want to make these short. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the books that I've basically been reading all month and have talked about a lot on my weekly reading vlogs. So I'm gonna make this as easy as I can on myself, especially because I'm probably gonna have a hard time remembering what some of these books were about since I have a terrible memory. The first book I read in July was A Killing Colt by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a thriller that follows a woman with a mysterious past who's recently gotten engaged to a handsome, wealthy man. She goes up to a cabin to meet his family, and some trouble ensues once she figures out that someone knows about her past and they might be trying to separate her or possibly are trying to kill her. I've read Kate Alice Marshall books before. I've enjoyed her writing. I wasn't able to figure out the ending, which is always a good sign for a thriller. So I gave this one 3 stars. I'd probably read something else by this author, but maybe not reread this one. The next book I read was They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. This is a book of short stories which are all horror and follow a variety of animals in different scenarios which are pretty horrific. It was a quick and easy read. I liked some stories more than others. I gave this one 2 stars. I probably wouldn't reread this, and I did try another book by this author, but I don't know if I'll try any more after this. The next book I read was Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. This was another short horror novel following a few different people as they live in a town where older people are disappearing and there's no reason why. The story itself was entertaining. I wasn't really satisfied with the conclusion though, so I ended up giving this one 2 stars, and after this one I decided that maybe Eric LaRocca is not for me. The next book I read was The Butcher and the Wren by Elena Urquhart. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This follows a detective and a serial killer and switches points of view between both of them as the serial killer kills people and the detective tries to find him. The detective does have a mysterious past that we learn about later in the book. I enjoyed this one a little more than I thought I would, and I really enjoyed the ending, especially because I wasn't able to figure out how it would end. There was some nice twists along the way, and there is a second book in the series, which I'm looking forward to reading next. I gave this one 3 stars. I probably won't reread this, but I will continue the series, and I have enjoyed the author's writing so far. The next book I read was the first physical book I read this month, and that was Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is a horror manga following a girl who lives in a town that is being haunted by spirals or the spiral shape. This was my first Junji Ito book. I wasn't really sure what to expect when I went into it. It's pretty creepy. The drawings are pretty intense. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I don't know if I'd read anything else by Junji Ito, maybe something a little less thick if he does have any smaller books. But I am glad I read this one and gave him a chance. But I don't think I will be rereading it. The next book I read was The Drowning Woman by Robin Harding. This follows a woman who lost everything during the pandemic and now is homeless. She finds herself meeting a woman who tries to commit suicide, and after she saves herself, she becomes entangled in basically her life and everything that she's going through. This one does have some interesting twists to it that I didn't see coming, so I did end up enjoying this one. I gave this one 3 stars. I would definitely try something else by this author, although I probably wouldn't reread this book. The next book I read was The Naked Fisherman by Jewel E. Ann. This was more of a new adult story following a young girl just turned 18. She has just gone to live with her mom, who she hasn't seen in about 5 years because her mom was in prison. Her dad recently passed away, and she was raised by her grandparents in a very religious household. When she moves in with her mom, she meets her mom's landlord, who happens to be a 28-year-old guy who is 10 years older than her, and they start an age gap / forbidden romance. This was a fun one. I wouldn't consider it too much of a romance. It felt more like a coming of age story. It did leave the ending a little inconclusive, so I probably would pick up the next book in the series. Probably not anytime soon though. And I would give this author another chance. I just probably wouldn't reread this book. The next book I read was Dearest by Jackie Walters. This is a thriller following a new mom who is raising her baby basically on her own as her husband is deployed. She tries to get help from her mom, who she hasn't spoken to since her wedding day, and that's when things start getting a little strange. She's losing pockets of time and she's putting her baby in dangerous situations, so she's not really sure what's happening to her. I felt like this one was more of a horror slash paranormal book. It had some paranormal elements at the end, which I wasn't really expecting, which kind of took me out of the story that I didn't see coming, but not in a good way. I would probably give this author another chance if she wrote something in a different genre, but I wouldn't reread this book specifically. The next book I read was His Sinner by Harmony West. This is the second book in a duology. It's dark romance following a masked man who stalks his professor and has a lot of secrets that he shares with her. We get a dual point of view from both the masked man and from the female protagonist. I enjoyed the first book a lot better. This one felt really like there was too much going on for such a short book. I'm glad I finished the duology, and I would definitely give this author another chance. I'm glad I finished this duology, but I wouldn't reread this. The next book I read was Joe Is Not Happy by Kaio Aruda. This is a thriller that follows a married couple whose relationship is on the rocks, even though it seems to be pretty perfect from the outside. As the story goes along, we find out that they have a lot of secrets within the marriage and outside of the marriage that they are slowly starting to both discover and reveal to the audience. This one had some twists I wasn't expecting, and I really enjoyed how twisted the characters were in this. I gave this one 3 stars, and I definitely read something else by this author, especially if it's another thriller that's a little more developed. I don't think I'd reread this one, but I wouldn't mind giving it another shot in the future if for some reason or other the reason to reread it came up. The next book I read was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This one follows a 17-year-old girl who basically wants her life to turn out like a rom-com movie, which she and her mom loved. She's struggling through finishing off her senior year, going to prom, hitting all these milestones without her mom being a part of her life anymore. When she decides that she has met the one, she enlists her next door neighbor, who also happens to be her enemy, to help her try and win his affections. So they start a fake relationship and things begin to unravel after that. This is a really cute book. There is a few more in the series. I really enjoyed this as a palate cleanser for everything that I was currently reading, and I might pick up the next few books in the series once I'm ready for something that's lighthearted like this. I gave this one 3 stars. I would read something else by this author, including the rest of the books that go along with this series. And I might reread this in the future, seeing as I have a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition that's really cute. The last book I finished in July was Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I do love Ali Hazelwood. This book was the one that took me the longest to read of hers. Normally I get through them pretty quickly. I think 2 issues that I had was that I was reading it physically. Normally I listen to books. The other issue I had was that this was a slow burn and an age gap romance in which the male protagonist had a really hard time dealing with the fact that he was both attracted and in love to a woman who was 15 years his junior. It was definitely a cute story. I loved the characters. I had a fun time reading this. I gave this 4 stars, although I don't think I would reread this one, but I would definitely read anything else that Ali Hazelwood writes, since she is one of my favorite authors. Those are all the books I read this month. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry about the lighting. It got really dark really fast. I was trying to film this as quickly as possible, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.